Okay, it says that I'm live. Perfect. I am just kind of setting up a little bit here. I'll wait for some people to join. I'm working on Gracie May by Laura Lee Eagles. I hope the lighting is okay. If I need to adjust it at all. I am just seeing how everything's working here. It's been a while since I've gone live. I wish we could still go live horizontally instead of vertically. So it's like a guessing game and figuring out this particular setup. I had a light up like ring light tripod and it broke. Sean vehemently denied being the one who broke it, but it was like in his recording room, completely broken. Clearly, he backed up on it and stepped on it and broke it. And it's like, bro. So I'm waiting for a new like ring light that holds the phone, like an even better model to like show up. But in the meantime, hopefully the lighting is good. I'm going to be painting creases on this baby here tonight, and chatting with y'all. So I know a lot of my followers on YouTube are dollhouse and Barbie related, but if you've visited my channel, then you know that I'm a professional Reborn doll artist as well, and my live streams aren't always going to be for just Reborn dolls. I'm thinking maybe next week of going live while I paint and stain like a desk that I finished. Just go live and chill and while I paint that and we can hang out and chat about doll houses and whatever. But this is a reborn baby. Real baby crazy. Thank you. This baby is actually not even halfway finished with their painting. I'm in the creases and wrinkles stage of painting, which I'm going to mix up some paints here in a moment and just get to chatting and maybe share some tips and tricks on how I paint my dolls and things of that nature. So I have a straw here, okay, because I have a bubbly, and I'm sorry about your guys' ears for a moment. I am a little parched. You got a super talent. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm going to set my bubbling water back here so I don't have to keep reaching for it across the camera. So this is Gracie May by Laura Lee Eagles. She's a custom order and a human baby. And for those of you who are just now tuning in who have no idea who I am, I typically do monster babies, vampires, zombies, things of that nature. And this customer of mine was like, well, I want a human newborn from you. So she's a human newborn. And I've been taking my time with her. The way that everything is set up right now, I actually have a nice large desk to work on multiple dolls at once. But when I sat down to work on multiple dolls, I got overwhelmed because it's hard to work on all of them at once, right? I have a human baby, a newborn vampire baby, a Frankenstein baby in the works, a character inspired doll. I have a ghost and a black eyed kid. And like, I can there's like no way that they can share paint mixes and stuff and are in various stages of the reborning process. So I'm actually just targeting one individual doll at a time to get each one done and finished. And then my next batch of dolls, I'll work on them all together because I won't have custom orders anymore. And I don't think I'm going to take customs for a while. So that way I can like focus on my other things on top of the reborn dolls, you know? Okay, I'm gonna start painting some creases on the doll. So I'm only filling in the creases and wrinkles right now. I'm not doing any shading or contouring or highlighting. That comes after this step. And I wanted to share this, my process, because realistically, like look at the creases and wrinkles when you like bunch up your hand or like in your arm crease, right? They're not highlighter pink. They're not bronzy, right? They're shadowy colors. And um, you need to fill the creases and wrinkles in with shadowy colors, not bronzes. I always kind of, I don't want to say cringe because everybody has their own style of painting, but I always kind of like recoil when I see bright pink creases and wrinkles. Um, Creases and wrinkles shouldn't be like red at all, except for on newborn babies and some areas of the feet and hands. Anyways, so I'm just going to add a little bit of paint thinner to the middle right here. And I'm using a olive oil bottle and I labeled it not oil ho, just to be silly. I put labels on everything to keep organized. I'm only just adding a little bit. This is a bit of a thicker layer. And I do it in like several layers to achieve like realistic shading. And I don't use thinning medium or any type of medium with these layers. I know a lot of people do. I don't. I think it makes it too thick and it makes the creases and wrinkles in the dolls a little bit too firm for my liking. And I actually only use mediums with the skin texturing. I don't use it for any of my other painting processes at all. So I have here, okay, so I have Quinquadrone Crimson and I have Mars Black. And then I have a deep purple color, which is pretty much a mix of these two colors already with a little bit of dioxazine purple, and it creates this color, you know. So I'm going to start with the Mars Black. You will be famous. I hope not. um, So if that would have happened, if I was going to be, that probably would have happened already. I've been a reborn doll artist going on almost 20 years. I've been reborning dolls since 2008. Um, and yeah, I wouldn't want to be famous. It like comes with so much negativity with the mindset of, oh, well, you put yourself out there, you should be, welcome to repercussions. And I don't think so. I don't think any job, just because you're in the public eye, should come with any form of abuse. You know what I mean? Like you look at celebrities posts and there's always people on there commenting about their weight and their lifestyle choices. And I just wouldn't want to be part of that. I like to start with the tummy plate here. And I'm just doing creases and wrinkles. So the areas that I'll be doing are like, I'll be doing the little creases in here. I will be gently outlining the nipple area and the inverted area and areas of the belly button. I'm not doing any shading or highlighting or contouring of the baby just yet. I like to do this step and then I like to do a few more layers to bring out the shading afterwards, like some more purple washes, maybe some more mottling, a little bit of more like blushing, and then I'll get into the contouring and highlight and like imperfections in the skin. Anyways, what has everybody been up to lately? Let's see. Yeah, you guys can see. So I'm just going over the creases and wrinkles. And then I like to let it sit for a couple of minutes before I go over it with my blending brush. Now, I will not be outlining it with the Mars Black. I'll be doing the outline of the baby's nipple area, like with a different color. Right now, I'm just kind of filling in these lines so that they actually show up and give the illusion of like wrinkling. And then the inverted area of the nipple. Because typically babies, when they're born, the nipple is inverted. And then this is a detailed dry brush. It's actually for miniatures, but I really like to work with Reborn dolls with these. And I just kind of take my brush and blend it in like so. I want to do a little bit more. Sometimes even if I want to tone it down a little bit, I just dip it into this right here and just kind of there. I'll just take a cosmetic wedge just to dab off that extra thinners. I feel like there's a huge difference. I don't know how well my lighting is. I can only fit one lamp in this area right now. So I wanted to talk about, while I'm working on this baby here, I wanted to talk about some changes. I have not been live in a very long time. It's been forever. And I have missed doing my live streams because it's a lot of fun and it motivates me to work and like get to connect with you guys and see what y'all have been up to. But so since the last time I went live, I actually moved to like a much smaller apartment, and it's like a full 720 square feet. And but I don't mind. So to interrupt what I'm saying here, these darker, like these deeper areas of the belly button, I'm gonna go in with a deeper level of black than I would like right here. I want it to be like really deep right in here. And this really carries the illusion of separation of skin and faint line right there, just to kind of add some shadowing to that area of the belly button. I recommend doing this in layers over and over again until you get that type of depth that you want, especially with like closed-eyed babies when you're doing the closed eyes. I've seen people just kind of paint that a solid black and it just never looks realistic to me. Don't do that. Don't. You want it to look like a shadow, not like just straight solid black. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I'm sure you do. Just a shadow. I do want it to be a little bit darker right there in that dot right there. I'm just gonna lightly tap and blend it into I'm happy with it. I'm gonna give that time to sit down. I have a little tummy plate resting area right here. This is actually, I think this is like a dish or a cup rack, but I found it and was like, I could put my tummy plates on that. Okay, and then after the tummy plate, I always go straight to the face. Again, we're just doing the creases and the wrinkles. And then I'm going to do some shadowing inside the nose, inside the mouth, the ears, things of that nature. So I'm just gonna move these out of my way real quick so that I don't. Yeah, I'm just gonna use this brush too. Anyways, I moved into a smaller place. Um, and a lot of crazy stuff has happened in the past couple of years, really. And I'm now at a place where I can start doing live streams again here and there. I don't know if you can see the difference already in between this eye crease and that eye crease. Let's see. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about like the future of my channel, the direction that I will be going, um, the future of my reborn artistry, just things of that nature. But so I originally was going to completely retire from reborning, and I even was like, I announced it and everything. I was like, oh, I'm retiring this year. I'm not going to make dolls anymore. And like, it had nothing to do with like the reborn, doll community or anything. Um, for a while there, I kind of like, I don't want to say lost my passion because as an artist, I'm passionate about a lot of things, about building doll houses, creating miniatures, making dolls. I make music. I'm in a band. A lot of different things. And I just felt like my time as a reborn artist was just kind of over. I didn't really feel inspired. And I think it was mostly exterior circumstances that made me feel that way. Like the things going on in my life kind of made me feel like uninspired. And I actually got that spark back, and I'm really excited to be working on dolls again. And so I also retired my Mangled Mishaps line, which is like a line of props and things like that I create to go with Reborn dolls, like as accessories and things. And I decided to actually not retire them, but instead I'm going to create a separate Etsy account for Mangled Mishaps, and I will do seasonal drops every August. So that way everything is ready to ship, nothing's made to order, no drama. Just work on little items all year round and then plan for August drops. But I know that there's been a shift in my channel. I've been sharing more about like my Barbie collections and my doll houses and things like that. And it's going to stay that way. I updated my name to Heather's Dollhouse because, this is a house of dolls. I've got Chucky dolls, I've got sideshow collectible, I'm a reborn artist, I like Barbies, and my handle will always be Fallen Angels Nursery, but I have a system in place where I'm going to just share a little bit of all of that on my channel. It's not going to be just about reborns. And back in the day, I used to make like cinema style videos to share like the the reveal of a baby. You know, I would dress up in costume as like a vampire or a fallen angel, and I would add special effects and stuff. See how it's just shadow and not like a straight solid black? That's what we're going for. So, I want to bring that back. I want to bring that kind of energy back to the YouTube Reborn doll space. When I first started making Reborns back in 2008, you know, we were all on MySpace back then, and then like within a year, everything shifted to Facebook, and then people were posting more on YouTube. And I have an upcoming series called Between the Layers coming soon. It's kind of like a podcast series where I talk about things like that more in depth. But when I first came to YouTube, like the people here, it was such a creative community, and people were like puppeteering their dolls and um, doing skits with them. And this is where I discovered, you know, fantasy reborns, even. And I feel like the shift of the community has really changed, not just in the reborn space, but in a lot of video content style social media. People tend to be more reactive online than creative. And, you know, I don't like reactionary content at all. I don't even like those TikToks where people are like reacting to other people's videos. I just think they're ridiculous. I don't know. I want to bring back that type of content to YouTube, you know? I want to go back to making my old style videos again. The fun little skits and like movie trailers and costumes and things for reborns. And then I'm also going to, you know, do doll house videos, and if I get a new Chucky doll, I'll do a box opening and review, you know. But I'm just really excited to be back. And I've just noticed that there's this shift with social media and, you know, especially in regards to like call out culture, and I have videos coming up where I'm going to go into detail with that respectfully in my Between the Layers series. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. The brushes that I'm using, I actually got from Temu. I love Temu for paintbrushes. I started buying my paintbrushes there like 2 years ago, and then I don't get them anyplace else anymore. I find like the most insanely best quality paintbrushes on Temu for like such affordable prices. Last year, I got a set of like something crazy, like 84 brushes for less than $7, and they are amazing quality paintbrushes. Like I get paint for reborning, I get paintbrushes for specifically for creating miniatures and model kits, like the car model kits. I get those for the fine detail painting. And I also found like all of these nail art specific paint paintbrushes, which that's what these are. These are for like nail art. They are incredible for reborn doll making, and I cannot rave about them enough. Especially these dry brush ones. These are freaking awesome. You're like Jeffrey Dahmer, but you killed the toys. No, I create the toys. I don't I don't dismember the dolls. I buy the dolls, I paint the dolls, I assemble the dolls, and I build life into these dolls. I'm more like Geppetto from Pinocchio. You know what I mean? But my Mangled Mishaps line, I do take like test limbs and things like that and make them into some pretty whack ass toys for like zombies, you know? Like, what would a zombie baby play with, right? That's what I think about. And so I make toys out of like arms and legs and like pacifiers out of like ears and stuff like that, right? But that still is more like I think of my makeup mishaps as being like an adult Sid from Toy Story. It probably is. You can be a bit jarring seeing the baby parts before they are assembled, but the creation process is probably creepy to people who this isn't normal to. But this is my normal. I've been doing this almost 20 years, you know. It's normal for me. I just had in February my 18-year anniversary of Reborn doll making and was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award um, by the Sacramento Art Doll Association. And it's pretty fucking awesome. Sorry for my language. I hope there's no children out there listening. I'm also going to really add a lot of shading to these back neckline right here. And I'm not, this is like kind of a crease, but this is an area that I would add shading and contouring to. Right now, I'm just filling in the creases and wrinkles. That's it for this step, just the creases and wrinkles. So recently I bought myself a new iMac. I worked really hard on dolls and accessories and things, right? And I was able to buy a new iMac and I decided to use it to like, you know, I'm building a new website. That's why my website has been down. I'm building a new website and I went on there to like reorganize my YouTube channel and like, you know, kind of like make it pretty, make it match the whole Heather's dollhouse aesthetic instead of just Fallen Angels Nursery, right? And I accidentally deleted all of my live streams, my prior live streams. I don't know how I did that, but it happened. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's time to go live soon because why did I do that? How I don't even know how. You guys, this is my first iMac, so like before that I was used to having Windows and just doing YouTube like on my iPhone. I don't know what I did, but I did it. Same with the nose too. You want shading, you don't want stark, straight black. You know what I mean? Gotta be a monster one. Actually, this is a human baby, custom order for a lovely client of mine. Pretty awesome to have an actual human baby on my desk because every time I'm like, every time I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be a human, it ends up growing fangs. Someone said creepy. Yep. You know what's creepy? Leaving one word responses in somebody's chat. I think that's creepy. I personally don't think there's anything creepy about this. I see it as special effects art. I'm a special effects artist. No, without special effects, we wouldn't have film, we wouldn't have cinema, none of it. I always make sure I don't have paint on the side of my hand. That's why I hold the doll like this to protect like the head from bobbing into shit. You know what I mean? So with this black, the only areas of the ears, crap, I just got some on the knee here. With this black, the only areas of the ears I'm going to do, I'll take a clean paintbrush and show you. I'm going to fill the ears in here and then right in here with the black. And then I'll do a little bit right here. That's it. You don't want black in any other area because we're creating shadow, not we're not contouring and we're not shading yet. We're creating shadow in between the layers of the skin. So again, you want it to be shadowy, not stark black in the ear. Like a solid black. If you take a picture of your ear, there's nowhere in there that is a solid black. It's shadowed. You know what I mean? That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see solid black inner nostrils and ears. It's like white and then like the lines between the where the eyes are closed, the eyelids is closed. It's like it should be a shadow, not a solid black. Until it acts like Terminator or Chucky. Good thing that the Terminator and Chucky is actually fiction and not real life, right? So eventually it's not going to act like Terminator or Chucky because it's a doll, right? It's an inanimate object. However, I do have life-size Chucky dolls in my house. I am a serious Chucky doll collector, and I have miniature Chucky dolls in my doll houses, and I have life-sized Chucky dolls as well. So I like Chucky, and I also happen to really like the Terminator too. I have 1/6 scale Terminator figures actually, um, including his motorcycle and everything. I'm not sure if it's Hot Toys or Sideshow Collectibles. It's one of them. So those are all things that I like, anyways. So now I'm going to take a different blending brush. This one's a bit more rounded at the edges to blend that out in the inner ear. And I got what I wanted with the black in this ear. Clear that up a little bit. And now I'm going to do the other ear. I believe AI is fallen angel. What does that mean? You make realistic face masks? Um, actually, I used to make masks back in the day. I haven't in like 10 years though. So I'm gonna hold the baby like this and fill in the same areas as the other ear. What's everybody up to this evening? It's actually nice and quiet in here. River's dad is taking him to Chuck E. Cheese for a little bit. And River is my 4-year-old, for those who do not know. And it's nice to have a little bit of peace and quiet. Life has been pretty chaotic lately. Our dog Chewy was recently diagnosed with dementia, which has been horrifying, to say the least. I am an elderly caregiver and hospice nurse, and I specialize in cognitive decline in adults. My area of expertise is Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that. And I've seen humans go through that. And this is my first time having to see a dog go through that, and it's awful. Absolutely awful. So my dog has pretty much been a full-time job lately. You know, it's it's like really, I don't even have the words. There really is no words to describe how you feel. Poor Chewy. I know, girl. Um, I didn't even realize that dogs can get dementia or how common it is in certain breeds of dogs, like corgis. And what I thought was just corgi behavior, like food guarding. Corgis are just naturally assholes about food. Sorry about my language, but they are. And but the past like 6 months or so, he isn't just crazy about food. I mean, he's psychotic about food. Like, dude literally acts like he's starving. Is the best way that I can describe it. I can't even have a loaf of bread on my counter anymore because he will stand in the kitchen and bark and bark and bark and bark at it because it's a sign of cognitive decline called food guarding. And I thought it was just him getting in his old age and just being obsessed with food. And turns out that is not normal. So now I'm going to switch over to this paintbrush because I'm going to do the inside of the mouth. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to squeeze the cheeks a little bit to really get in there and fill in some shadowing on the inside of the mouth. I'm going to avoid the upper lip area. And if there were any gum line or tongue or anything like that, I would avoid that with the shadowing and only place it in the creases. But aside from the upper lip line, this is just supposed to be an area of just open mouth. So this whole area is going to be shadowed. So glad he has you. You do so much for him. I appreciate that. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, you know. I think that's how we all feel. Not just with our pets, but with our kids too. I always just feel like, I could be doing something more. I love that dog. Like I make his food from scratch. Um, I make him bone broth. I make sure that he gets something different for breakfast and for dinner. Like for breakfast, he'll get like a poached egg with like creamed hemp hearts, potatoes with the skin still on, a plethora of vegetables, and then dinner time he'll have like a chicken or a beef dinner with like quinoa and hemp hearts and flax seeds. He also has autoimmune disease, which is why I started making sure that he had homemade food. And the type of autoimmune disease he has is actually extremely rare in dogs. Like before they even get tested for like autoimmune disease, your vet automatically assumes, all right, he's these symptoms, he's got some kind of a internal or external parasite, so then they make them go through all of those testings and you know then they're like, okay, well, it's not a parasite, and so what is it? And it's like, it's awful. But he's a very loved dog, and the recent um, cognitive decline has been really, really, really hard for me to for me to like accept and deal with, you know? Something else that he does too, like if he feels trapped in a room, even if the door's open slightly, he'll like panic thinking that he's locked in there. See how it's not solid black, it's just shading? Uh, one one time, and I just thought this was his personality, you guys. I didn't know that this was a sign of cognitive decline in dogs. Because a year ago, this is how long it's been going on. Usually, cognitive decline in dogs isn't really discovered until a year or two since it's progressed. But like a year ago, um, in our old apartment, um, our old condo, Chewy somehow managed to lock himself in one of the bedrooms while we were out. And we weren't even gone that long. We just went to go see a movie. And when we came home, he was barking. And I was like, oh my God, he locked himself in one of the bedrooms. And when I opened the door, he tore apart all of the carpeting around the door. That's part of cognitive decline in dogs because their mind is going. And he actually thought that he could dig himself under, like through the floor and under the door, and talking to the vet about this recently, like reflecting on his behavior the past couple of years. My vet was like, oh my God, that's even a sign of brain cancer in humans. Human beings have even been known to duck down on the floor and like think that they can dig, if that makes sense, because their mind is actually not functioning properly. It's I don't wish that on anybody's dog. Like, why do dogs, which in my opinion are like the most innocent animals on the planet, they're not manipulative. They're like one of the only animals that are not manipulative. They're not selfish. Like, why do they have to go through that? It's just not fair, you know? I'm gonna do more of this little inner corners here to come out. I'm gonna go through over the inner eyes a couple more times before I move on to the next color. And so now I'm gonna take a clean brush. There's these areas, right? These areas of the eyes. Okay. I tend to see people kind of put too much red in these areas. Don't do that. These should be accentuated with a shadow color and then highlighted with like purples to look natural in a newborn. So I'm gonna take a little bit more of the paint thinners. And I'm only going to do like right here and right here with the black. You don't want to do that whole strip, just parts of it, because we're creating shadow. I also like to use Mars blacks for this, not carbon black. Mars black is more of like a really, 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 really deep black with like a purple. accent to it, whereas a carbon black is a carbon black. It's like charcoal black, so it's got more of a grayish undertone. I prefer to use that for hair follicles than building any type of layering in the skin, if that makes sense. Now I am going to take a little bit of black. I've already highlighted a lot of the area of the fontanelle, which is the soft spot. I'm going to go back to this liner brush here, and I'm going to gently add just a little bit of shadowing to that depression there, so that I just want it to I want it to be visible underneath this baby's hair painting. The fontanelle entirely, I want it to be visible. See, that just created some shadow. I'm just going to go over the baby and make sure I didn't get black in any unwanted areas. Any place else that needs to be blended. This baby is so precious. I love this kit. Okay, you always do a fantastic job on your doll work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Once you start building up the creases and wrinkles, this is when the baby really starts looking real. Like, oh my God. So it's like this is when I start getting excited about the dolls. Okay. So in the hands and feet, there's a lot of wrinkles. There's always a lot of them. And I always emphasize that you should fill in every single one of them, even the little dips and depressions and grooves. If you fill them all in, it just really adds to the realism. Don't skip any of that. So, I'm going to, it's getting low on some black paint, so I'm just going to fill this in some more. So what's everybody doing on this fine Friday evening? What y'all doing? Anybody got any plans? I was gonna go live yesterday, but my son wanted me to make homemade brownies, and I wasn't gonna say no to that. He had his heart set on it. Lately, he's really been enjoying watching Alice in Wonderland, and he especially loves tea sets and tea parties, and he wanted an unbirthday party. I kid you not. My floor is filled with balloons right now. I think I blew up maybe, 120 balloons yesterday, and they're all over the floor because he wanted to have an unbirthday party like Alice in Wonderland with his brownies and his tea set. He got a little tea set for Christmas. He got one of those FAO Schwartz, like the ceramic ones. He loves it. Okay, so for a lot of the creases in the hands, I'm going to use this color here in the hands and the feet. But with some creases, like the deeper creases, like right here, I'll use a clean brush to point it out. Like right here, and like right here, and like those really deep depressions in like the thumb, right? And like right here, I'll fill those in with black. And then I'll do black in all of the creases in the arms, and then like right in here, right? Keep getting paint. So I make sure that I do all of the black first, and then I do this color next everywhere. And then any areas that I want to have a little bit more red to it, I'll just take this and the black and just kind of mix it together a little bit. And add it to any areas that I feel like need to be a little bit more of a deeper red. Like certain areas, especially the pads of the hands and feet on newborns, tend to have more red in the creases and wrinkles than any place else in the body. And that just comes from just studying newborn photos. And on birthday party, I love it. Yeah, girl. What? Wait, watching you paint makes me want to paint again. I have zero supplies these days other than kits. I don't even know what paint to get now that Genesis is gone. Okay, girlfriend, you've come to the right place. Try a little tiny little metal case. Now I've got freaking ICP in my head. Okay, so um, first off, yes, you should start painting again because you're uber talented. And there's so many people have retired from fantasy dolls. It's really sad, and we need our fantasy artists back. But if you don't have access to Genesis, I highly recommend Irresistibles paints because they work exactly like Genesis, really. And there's more products by Irresistibles than there ever was for Genesis. Esther, the creator of the Irresistibles paints, is very innovative. She has a very innovative team of people working for this paint line. I'll just say that. They found a system. Okay, I'm working with Genesis right now, but I have everything in my studio. I have Genesis, I have Gemini, which is the new paint from Bountiful Baby. I have Irresistibles, I have BC paints, and I have Elva and Go, and I have Winton oil paints. So if you want something that acts exactly like Genesis, Winton oil paints at like Hobby Lobby or Michaels is totally the way to go. They work exactly like Genesis. You can use the same paint thinners, same layering and stuff. The only difference is eventually they will air dry. Um, over a couple of days, they will eventually air dry. You can heat set them. Um, so what's great about Irresistibles is that it works just like Genesis, right? Because I'm about to get into some science here. I hope you guys don't mind. uh, Genesis paints are an alkyd system. An alkyd is a modified oil. It's not an oil. It's a modified oil, and um, that's why it's able to be heat set. It works more like an acrylic than an oil paint because it's been modified. And modified oils tend to be artificial. They're not made with natural oils. So that's why you don't mix those with like linseed oils and things because like you would with a Winton oil paint, right? Because you don't need to add that. That's the point of them. You don't need to add the linseed oils and all of that stuff. And just like Genesis being an alkyd paint, so is Irresistibles. And currently, it is the only actual alkyd on the market for Reborn dolls. So it works just like Genesis. I mean, and what's great about it too is they came out with so much stuff that Genesis never had. Like they have blending oils, they have bonding agents that are heat set, they have all of these colors, like so many different colors that Genesis never had either. And it's just a really good paint system. And so when I'm out of Genesis, I'm gonna keep using Irresistibles. Um, Alva and Go is also an Alkyd paint. That's right. So is Alva and Go, which is based out of Brazil, I think, or Spain. Yeah, it's Brazil, I think. And those paints are really good, especially their mediums. I highly recommend those. They work just like Genesis too. You can mix them with Genesis because they're Alkyd. Just same with Irresistibles. You can work with it with Genesis. You can mix them together. You know, I did highly recommend Phoenix paints, but Lucy no longer makes them because she has multiple sclerosis and just can't anymore. And so Gemini is pretty good, but it's a bit tricky because you can only use it with their particular thinning agents because it's not alkyd, it's polymer. It's a polymer based paint. Same with BC. BC, I like the mediums. But the thing with polymer paints, right, is it's a different chemical composition. So even though it's heat set, it's not oil, it's not acrylic. Just like an alkyd paint, it's something in between. And what polymer paint does is it self blends. And so BC paints, Gemini paints, and the other polymer systems, it's impossible to do mottling with. It's impossible to do mottling because it self blends. So you can do a beautiful mottling, bake it, and then it doesn't, it's gone. And it's frustrating to work with. And if you see a lot of artists who work solely with things like BC and stuff like that, you'll see that they have a very pretty, polished, blended skin tone, which some people like that. I get them, they're beautiful dolls, but you don't see a whole lot of like mottling and things like that with those babies, and it's because they're using a polymer system. But I love BC paints, specifically with polymer clay. I have been experimenting with that with polymer clay, and to me, that's the bee's knees. That's the best thing I've ever painted polymer clay with, ever. So I actually got a shit ton of it. I hope that answered your question. I remember you tested everything as it was coming out. I did. Not only did I experiment with it with dolls, right? I even sent that shit to a lab and had everything tested for carcinogens, formaldehydes, endocrine destructive chemicals, things of that nature. And the only thing that came back that had tons of formaldehyde and endocrine destructive chemicals in it was that Shelley Marie agent that Macpherson's was trying to um uh I don't know what's the word, advertise for a while there. And that what is this stuff? I still have it in my studio. Don't ask why. This Kabelka. I'm actually going to be getting rid of these. That's why they're out right now. Loaded with formaldehydes, carcinogens, and endocrine disruptive chemicals, and it literally says non-toxic on it. That's why I don't trust. Like these are things that people are making and selling and networking, and they're not government tested or regulated on any type of federal level. And they're actually supposed to do that in order to sell to me in California. Everything's supposed to be on the label. So I fucking tested everything. But anyways, short story long, the two products that I recommend the absolute most for those used to working with Genesis and want to get back to Dollworks is number one, Irresistibles. It's better than Genesis, and I'm not even kidding. It is an incredible system. They have so much stuff. Their pour texturing medium is straight baller. They're they have this new product out. Well, it's not new. It's new to the community, really. It's called not the blending fluid, but like the thermo fluid. The name will come back to me. And it's like a liquid medium that you can do all sorts of wild stuff with. Um, you can take it and make like scales on a reptilian baby, or you can. It's just really freaking incredible stuff. Ingenuity, baby, ingenuity. You know. And then after uh, Irresistibles, Alva and Go comes in a close second. And those are what I recommend the most. And then the Winton oil paints come in a close third. And then Gemini comes after that, and BC for Reborn paints. Just in my opinion, professionally, for those used to working with Genesis, BC comes in like last place because of the fact that it is an extreme polymer agent and self-blending, which is good for some layers, right? Skin layers, flawless with BC. The mediums are great. I love her texturing mediums, but the thing with those, no matter how cured your paint is, if you're applying it right and you accidentally slip a finger, it takes the paint completely off. Completely off. I don't recommend that system for beginners at all. I just don't. Um, but it's fabulous for painting polymer clay. Dead serious. So I have a stockpile of it just for my polymer clay endeavors. But yeah, you should totally get back to painting. That'd be freaking epic. I haven't seen a doll by you in a very long time. Yeah, girl, it's been a long time. Go too harsh with the blacks in these areas. I definitely want to get in where like they really deep creases. Thank you for explaining the science behind it. I will check out the Irresistibles if I do decide to paint again. The only Genesis I have left is green for the Grinches. Oh, absolutely. Irresistibles is great. It's literally it's even better than Genesis. That's just my opinion. But um so everywhere that I want really deep creases on this baby, I've already gone in and filled in. So then I'm just going to do the same on the other hands and stuff. Like I'm only doing the deeper wrinkles and stuff with the black. My only complaint about a lot of these new paint systems is just how expensive they are. It's like Genesis went out of business, so people made these paint systems and kind of capitalized on it. And that led Reborn artists to like go down a path of having no choice but to like raise prices. And like I said earlier, I'm actually going to be doing deep dive style podcast episodes called Between the Layers. And I have an episode coming soon where I'm actually going to be discussing that, like the cost of reborn dolls and why they've gone up so drastically, since 2020, really. And kit prices are pretty much the same that they've been the past 10 years, except for like some of them are actually really going up in prices. Some doll kits do cost like $160 now. And I'm like, what? I can't justify pre-ordering kits anymore that cost that much. $160, bro. I can get a whole ass dollhouse for that price. You know what I mean? A whole dollhouse. Um, but a lot of the prices of things are going up. You know, Genesis paints. I mean, how much were these little pots back in the day? Like $2.99 to get a pot this size of irresistibles or whatever is it's more than that. I'll just say that. I think I spent $100 on just two pots of mediums. Larger than that though. I think there were like 2 ounce pots of mediums. Or maybe it was like 3 or 4. I forget, but they're just really expensive. It's really expensive to stock up on supplies now. And then, you know, a lot of artists are used to Genesis, so then they're running out and then having to spend an exorbitant amount on the new paint systems. And not everybody has the wherewithal to experiment and trial and error. That's one of the differences between artists, like the OG artists and a lot of newer artists, because most of us are self-taught, right? We had to like learn on our own, really. We got a little bit of guidance and directions from, you know, the foundation artists, the ones that built the community and created the art form in general. But for the most part, we had to experiment and figure it out. Now there's just a plethora of information out there. There's tutorials all over the place. YouTube, you can buy some. You can, there's Facebook groups dedicated to just tutorials. So people just kind of learned how to paint what they're told. You know, they don't understand the workings of the system or how, you know, what's the difference, like how an alkyd works compared to a polymer, or how a vinyl based paint differs from an acrylic, right? And um, they're having to spend more money on tutorials or invest in supplies and ruin kits and things to figure out how to work with these paints. And the kits still just keep coming out and coming out, and we're still trying to figure out how to use new paint systems and everything. And I think it's just overwhelming for a lot of artists, and that's why a lot of people are retiring. And that's why we see a lot of prices going up. For dolls, completed dolls specifically, it's like really hard to get a doll for a couple $100 anymore from a professional artist, you know? I'm gonna try to go live more often. I think maybe I can plan once a week. I don't think that's gonna be too unrealistic for me. What was that? Oh, something fell over there. I don't think it'll be too unrealistic for me now that things have gotten a little bit more situated and settled. I want to go live next week and maybe paint a 1/6 scale desk that I just recently put together. Maybe sometimes I'll go live while I'm actually building my 1/6 scale furniture and stuff, so you guys can like see in real time my reaction to things and how frustrated I get sometimes. I do want to put more effort into my YouTube channel though. I've got lots of plans for making at least my channel a fun place to be, you know? I want people to come on my channel and have fun. I miss the old days of YouTube the old days of the Reborn community on YouTube, you know, when it was more of a creative thing. People had like, gosh, I remember like Hello Dolly Nursery, and she would have like the challenges of like the random acts of kindness, where like we had to do like public kind deeds for each other, and we could win a doll, and like it promoted creativity and like being good to each other all at the same time. And she was like an advocate against child abuse, and like I miss those days before, you know, everything just got too reactive. And again, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on reactive content shortly. My first Between Layers episode that's going to air is more of a reborn doll community topic that, I don't know, I stumbled upon, was like, huh, I kind of want to chat about that. And then I have the one after that's going to be about reactionary content and like the psychology behind it, and like productive ways to support people without, without, how do I put it without sounding like an asshole? Like productive ways of supporting people without condoning reactive behavior. You know what I mean? That's way too much. And how, and like productive ways to process hurt feelings without being reactive, without getting online to have to air out to everybody, oh, you had a falling out with somebody, therefore I need to feel validated in my absolute destruction of them and their reputation. There's just too much of that, not just in the reborn community, it's just fucking everywhere. Like reactive content, I don't understand why this is what social media has turned into. You know, I think that there is a place for healthy discussions and conversations. Some things people do need to bring awareness about, you know, but then there are some things where it's like, really, you know what I mean? I don't like reactive content at all. Like my son likes, he's 4 and he likes to watch YouTube videos. And today, instead of putting on his kid's YouTube channel, he put it on an adult YouTube channel and was watching this guy react to other people's videos. And I was like, turn that off. Because even if somebody's just trying to be funny and react to people's videos, it's still conditioning people into engaging in reactive content and reactive behavior. And I don't think it's necessary. And I think it's damaging. Social media is really programming people to be reactive. You know, it's I don't want it to be a situation where it is what it is. It's like, what can we as a community do to like enjoy our time here on YouTube, um, and not have to make it about centered around like conflict, you know? Because there are some YouTube channels on here, their whole shtick is being centered around conflict. Like, you guys, this dude, this guy, right? His entire YouTube channel is literally about finding drama, quote drama, online, on YouTube, and then just fucking commentating it. He make a whole video series about people he randomly found on YouTube and then react to it in real time. And most of the time doesn't have the information correct at all because one, he doesn't know these people. Two, he doesn't know the fundamentals of whatever community that they're in. He doesn't know the politics of their community or just the ecosystem of the community at all. He just gets in there and interjects his weird ass commentary. And recently he discovered some feud happening with a couple of reborn people who I don't know who either of them are really. I've heard of one of them. Her channel really is kind of centered around fucking like reactive content, really. And then the other one just kind of enjoys her dolls and swears a lot, but whatever. No one cares about that. Um, anyways, so like a friend of mine sent that to me and was like, "Have you seen this?" And I got about 10 minutes in and I was like, "What the heck?" First off, that is not what I want the outside world to think, that reborn doll people are these unhinged weirdos that make videos about each other instead of enjoying our dolls. There are some people in this community, right? I don't even know if they own dolls or make dolls. They are literally just here to make videos and trash talk people. And it's like, why are you here? You know, you could be so crafty and creative with things other than just talking smack about others. You literally, if you can't help yourself, get a Wattpad and generate a following, man. Or maybe even earn some income telling stories. Like you can actually earn an income telling stories, man. But this guy that was commentating the Reborn community when he discovered like this beef between these two people, which was just dumb crap that neither one of them had any business making videos about each other because like what? Like, you know, this could have been a conversation between you and your friend on the phone with y'all giggling about each other. You didn't need to make videos about each other, talking about each other like this, you know? And, you know, the dude just didn't know anything about reborns. He doesn't know anything about the community or these two particular individuals or what caused their feud. And then the comments on there were just awful. People taking sides, all like, oh, so and so is just blah, 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 and this so and so, and F that so and so. And it's like, you guys, first off, y'all don't know these people. You don't know anything about reborn dolls. You don't know the fundamentals. You don't understand why there's a debate between counterfeits and authentic. Like, this is what your channel is about, really? You literally built a channel and have these tens of thousands of followers around just discovering drama and commentarying it. Like that is what you want to contribute to society. That's what you want to contribute to the world. You have nothing else to say. You have nothing intellectual or important or inspiring that you want to share. This is your contribution to fucking YouTube. Is this. Like that's just how I felt about it. I don't know. I don't engage with those gossip channels, you know, like I don't engage with TMC or any of those people that talk shit about celebrities because I think that being a celebrity doesn't mean that these people you have the right to abuse them because they're famous. Why should that come with abuse? Right? These people are followed around by paparazzis. They have their children photographed. They have motherfuckers digging through their garbage cans, following them around. They can't even do anything. They can't even go out and enjoy a day at the beach without motherfuckers photographing them and being all like, oh, so and so is too skinny. Or look at, she's got a little bit of fat on her. Like, who cares? You know? And at the end of the day, it's been scientifically proven that if you spend your day talking shit, being negative, talking about drama, discussing drama all the time, talking about other people and negative things, whether it pertains to you or not, it actually causes shrinkages in your brain. Actual shrinkage in your brain. Think about it. You know? Is it worth it? I don't know, man. I want to get back to my cinema quality videos, like those videos I used to do to, you know, for baby reveals and stuff. I keep getting pink. Good thing I can just rub it off. I used to like dress up in costume and do my makeup and like make cinema videos to like reveal dolls and things like that. And I want to bring that type of creativity back to my channel at least. And that's what my channel is going to be about. And I hope that maybe inspires people to get back to it as well because that was the reborn doll community even before I joined. That's what made me want to start making videos. Was watching people puppeteer their dolls and stuff. I remember when I first typed in the words reborn dolls on YouTube. It was about 2009 or so, maybe 2010. And what popped up was a Julie Malloy video. And she had this beautiful full body silicone baby in this hospital bassinet. And I remember just being like, wow, you know, first off, I had never heard of a silicone baby then. and I was blown away. And I was like, I want to do that someday. And I want to own a hospital bassinet someday. And like, I want to be like her. She was like my first idol in the community, right? And today, Heather, I have a hospital bassinet. I can paint like that. And I've had the absolute pleasure and honor of meeting Julie Malloy in person. And I'm going to see her every single year at the West Coast Doll Show, you know? And that led to, seeing people comment on it. And the way that YouTube was back then was like the people that you followed, whatever they commented on or liked and stuff, that showed up in your feed. There weren't like algorithms like that established just yet. Everything's much different now. And so I would follow people that commented on her pages, which led me to freaking Princess Presley. Do you guys remember her? Those of you who've been around long enough? The first video I saw from her, right? She made this fucking video and she put the dolls on the couch and she was like, okay, I'm leaving. And she walks out the door. And then her and her son puppeteered these dolls to have this epic freaking lightsaber battle. And I was like, what? What? It was like the Reborn community was so creative and subversive and puppeteered their dolls. And like the style of role playing was different then. I mean, there's always been those people that did like pretending that your baby's real type of role play videos, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's role play. It's pretend, it's still being creative. But people were role playing with their dolls in a way that I had never seen before, like puppeteering them. And I saw a comment on one of Reborn Princess videos, and it was a lovely little channel called Hey There Dollface. And I followed her channel. And that's where I was exposed to alternative dolls. Now, I had seen alternative dolls before from like Lacey Michelle and stuff like that. But I was exposed to role playing with them. And that's when I was like, man, I want to make freaking alternative dolls. And then she upgraded her, she started a new channel. Most of y'all might know her as Hey There Spooky Face. But and I have said this many times throughout the years that watching her channel is what really inspired me to like make alternatives too. Because I remember there was a video that she did, and it was like one of her demon babies, and she went in like the nursery to check on him, and his head spun around, and I was like, oh my god, you guys are fucking incredible. And then that led me to like really being part of the community and seeing what it was all about back then, and it really was about community, creativity, and immersing in like this. Everybody had like there was this little world that they created for themselves on their channel. People would come together and do fundraisers for people. Like there were times where somebody was struggling with like breast cancer and people band together and did giveaways, and the donations for money went towards you know their cancer treatments. And there was video challenges of like use these keywords in your video and write a story, and you might have a chance to win like a pacifier or a prop or even a doll. And I don't see that on YouTube anymore, and it really saddens me um, that it's not like that anymore. And I think that we as a community should get back to that. And if you can't control your emotions, like without like making commentary about people and reacting to certain things and making videos about each other, like I said, you can write a journal. There's constructive ways to handle that kind of stuff, and I'm actually going to do a deep dive on that soon. So for those of you watching, just know I do have discussion videos coming, but they're not reactive, they're not accusatory, they're not directed at particular individuals. They're just discussions and things that I feel like should be chatted about a little bit, you know? Ew, what is this? Ew, who are you? Like, obviously, I'm painting a doll. There's no reason to be like, "Ew, you coulda kept scrolling." I don't tolerate those types of is this Planned Parenthood? Um, First off, that's unoriginal. It's not even funny, and, you coulda kept scrolling. So, I don't tolerate those types of ridiculous comments on my channel. The Reborn world was much different back in 2003 when I started making Reborn dolls from Behringer dolls. Oh my god, I remember those days too, with Rit dye and shit. We would just put freaking Rit dye on them. Oh my god, yes, she was great. I'm getting to the comments. That was so long ago. I miss those days. So do I. So do I. I miss those days so much. I've done all of the dark creases that I want in this one, and then I'm going to do the black in this one. I don't want to miss those days anymore. I want to create those days. I have made a vow to myself that I'm going to get back to creative content. Um, and if anything that I said resonated with you, then you should do it too. Stay tuned for the deep dive on that. I think that one drops next month. Yeah, because the one that drops this month is a debate. I'll briefly discuss it now, but I'm going to go deeper into it. I recorded it today, actually. So, a few weeks ago, because like when I have something to say, I marinate on it for a while, and then I write all my thoughts and feelings down, and then I compile, I compose it into an actual like essay for a voiceover. So I was on YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook, and um, I'm scrolling, and I see somebody made a post pretty much saying that we as artists should not be allowed to modify reborn doll kits, like open the eyes and whatever, without the sculptor's permission. And that floored me because, first off, that's a direct insult to fantasy artists. Most of it, well, first off, like, there's barely any fantasy kits out there, and there used to not be at all. And, you know, once I buy a doll kit, I should be able to do whatever the hell I want with it. I paid for it. It's mine for me to express myself creatively with. And if I want to open an eye, anyways, some of the comments on there, I was like, what? So that is actually what inspired me to do my chat videos, to discuss certain types of topics in a professional, non-reactive type of way. You made the funniest parody videos back in the day. You should have been on SNL. Oh my God, when I was younger, it was my dream to be on SNL. When I was 13, believe it or not, I actually fucking auditioned for all that in Florida. And I didn't get it. They said that I was too old, but that I was funny and that I should pursue a career in comedy, and I never pursued a career in comedy. I occasionally do stand up at Punchline Sacramento. I haven't in a while, but I'm bringing those types of videos back, okay? I'm bringing the parody back, the skits. I have a cinema style video coming soon. I am just focusing on, first off, I need to get my custom reborn dolls finished before I invest into those types of time consuming projects. I want to get certain things out the door first. And I have ideas for teaching people how to make photography props and photography setups and, you know, photography tricks and tips and how to pose reborn dolls realistically and like um, so I'm going to be giving it my all soon on YouTube, but I need to get the customs finished. Um, because of like my dog's health issues and the move and stuff, I am a little bit behind on my customs, and I hate it when that happens. I'm getting them finished, and then I'm launching a shop next week for miniatures in my miniatures and dollhouse type stuff. So I'm getting these launches taken care of and dolls out the door, and then I've been planning and writing scripts for really interesting videos. This is so ridiculous about not modifying the kits. The whole point is to be creative. Oh yeah, girl. Wait until you hear my video. Like I'm gonna do a deep dive on it. I'm going to mention a couple of the comments and how I feel about those particular comments in the video. And then I'm just going to discuss from my point of view as a fantasy artist why I think that that type of verbiage is detrimental, um, and kind of singles out fantasy artists. Like specifically, because we modify the shit out of kids. Like, be so for real. So we open eyes, we do fairy ears, we add snouts. Like I've seen people go balls to the wall with kit modification in the fantasy realm, and I don't like this idea that anybody gets to have a say on how I express my creativity. That's another thing that is happening a lot in the reborn community is people expect everything to be permission based, right? And I'm not all about that either. You know, I think it's just ridiculous. Like, and I will die on that hill. Um, nobody has the right to tell you how to be an artist. Excuse me? Mm-mm, I don't think so. Someone wrote, "Mom, is this how babies are made?" You know, did you know that in ancient Greece, it was actually tradition and customary for women to take clay and that were trying to conceive but couldn't? They would oftentimes take clay and stone and actually carve infants out of stone and clay and offer them to the gods in exchange for a baby. Um, in fact, a lot of mythology, a lot of Greek mythology and Hellenistic mythology talk about women sculpting babies out of clay and then that clay sculpture coming to life for that type of immaculate conception. Because immaculate conception is in mythology isn't just you know pregnancy. Sometimes it happens through an egg, like a divine egg or an egg from that comes from the earth or the sky, and sometimes it came from sculpting a baby from clay. So this art form is actually one of the oldest art forms in human history. It's just changed throughout the years, is all. Just a little bit of history there for you, on top of science and everything else I discussed. You've made some of the most unique fantasy creatures just customizing a non-fantasy kit. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I try my best to, yeah. I'm really glad that I got my passion back for doll making because I lost it for a minute, and it had nothing to do with like the community or anything. Like it was all me. I struggle with depression, and sometimes when I get depressed, I don't want to do shit. I don't want to touch my doll houses. I don't want to paint dolls. Some people, when they're depressed, they jump into the arts. I can't. I literally can't. The only thing I could do creatively while I'm depressed is write music and poetry and stuff. And then when I'm happy and in a good mood and inspired, I can't write music or poetry. Um, that's why all of my poetry and music is kind of sad. So just kind of make sure that they match. Whew. Got my bubbly. What time is it? Dang, it's 9 o'clock. I've been going for like an hour and a half now. That's how long it takes to do that first step of my creases and wrinkles. Technically, it's not my first step because when I'm doing the undertones, when I'm building up the blue and purples and like the red washes and yellow washes and things like that, I always do layers with with liner brushes in the creases and wrinkles as well, with like pretty much every layer to make it super blended and actually look unison, you know? But this is the layers just for, you know, adding shadowing and stuff. And that's only step one. Step two is this color here. I'm so glad it's Friday. I always take Saturdays off from doll work or anything. Saturdays like my day off to um, hang out with my baby and all of that stuff. Hang out with River and, you know, spend my day relaxing, watching movies, playing with him at the park or whatever, you know, stuff like that. And then I usually, most of the time, I take the Sundays off, but since I've been behind on like my customs because of everything, I've just been working on Sundays now so that I can get these dolls done. So this seems like a bright red, but I'm going to take some black and mix it. And I'm only going to use this red black mix for a few things. All right, so now I'm pretty much doing it all over again, except for I'm going over everything. I'm going to take this smaller liner brush here, and I'm going to use this red color. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this purple here. I'm going to gently outline this nipple area by dotting it like this. People have a tendency of painting a newborn's this area super pink, but it's actually not. Like there's an outline, and in newborn infants, this area tends to be more flesh colored than blushed. So I do blush it, but then I go over it with a skin texturing effect to make it look a bit more realistic. And I fill in the inverted areas. And then I'm going to take Just slowly blend it in. So then I'm going to take this blending brush here, and I'm going to do like a sweeping motion inward. See the difference? This color, I'm going to go in through here. Also going to do a little bit of shading under and over the belly button. Again, blending at the same as the nipple area. Same with the belly button. People tend to blush them a little bit too much pink or a little bit too much red, when in actuality they should actually match the nipples. After all of the coloring is done and I do like a skin texture, I add a little bit more flesh color to areas like the nipples and the belly button and the lips and the fingernail beds. I just want it to look shadowed and not filled in with paint. Really happy with that. And just like the nipple area, right? I'm going to take this purple and red mix here, and I'm going to gently, gently outline the lips using the dotting method, like this. I want to maybe go live and talk about reborn techniques more often. Teaching is actually something I'm going to be doing more in person, and I have more information about that coming soon. And that just gives them a nice realistic outline, because like if you look at your lips in the mirror, there isn't a perfect straight line outline. It's a bit more, I don't want to say blotchy, but it's a bit more contoured to your skin. You want to build it up in a way that, like, you know, looks natural. Now that part I'm just gonna blend it just a little bit, and I'm gonna leave it as is because that gives a realistic unevenness to the lips there. I'm gonna switch to a larger liner brush to make sure I only get paint on the very tip of it. And then I will do so with this layer, with the black, I only did certain areas. But with this layer, I'm going to do the full crease and wrinkle and build the shadow up. It's so important to use shadow colors and not bronzers when building up that like separation of skin color. So this is the shadow layers that I add to the creases and wrinkles. And then when I get to more, like, I build blushing up and everything in many different layers too. Like, I'll do the base tones, and then I'll do blushing and creases, and then I'll do mottling, and then do more blushing and creases, and then I'll do more blushing, and then I'll do more creases. And then my next layer where I do more blushing and blood flow, I will add that color mix to the creases and wrinkles as well. take some of this red mix here. These are an area you would want because it adds shadow and then it adds more definition to the lip area to add a little bit of red right there. I'm also going to take the red and purple mix to do the lining of the lips. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between the two of them here to do more shading inside of that little partially open mouth. And I'll add some of the purple into the nostrils, because again, we don't want those to be a solid black. We want them to look naturally shadowed. I also, this wrinkle right here between the nose, I did not go over that one with black, because while that is a crease, right? You don't want that to look too deep, because that just overshadowing certain things on the face can really distort the overall look of the baby, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I like to go in there with that deep purple for that area. I'm also going to take this purple and do a little bit of shadow in this area here like this, because it blends all of the shadowing in, makes it look more natural and not like you have kind of like bare vinyl right there. And I just blend that in. I wish that we could do live streams in horizontal instead of vertical on YouTube. I know that there's like that StreamYard platform where not only can I do it horizontally, right, but I can also live stream on multiple places at once. And I'm thinking about investing in that. I know you have to pay for it, so that's why I've been avoiding it. Just like that, this area right here, I'm going to add shading to this space to just blend in all of the color into the skin and shading that I've done, so that it just doesn't look like bare vinyl, because you want everything to be uniform and natural looking. And that's another thing I wouldn't do with the black, because that would make those lines much deeper than they need to be. And then you got a baby that looks like an alien. And we're not making an alien. This is a human newborn. Use that purple color to just kind of highlight all of those tiny little creases and wrinkles in the eye area. And go over the eyelids more. I think she's looking really cute. I would stay on here all night with y'all if I could. StreamYard is awesome. She's looking crazy realistic. Thank you so much. This is where I feel like the babies really start looking realistic is when you start doing the shadowing and the creases and wrinkles. That brings so much life into them. And then the next layer, which is going to be after this layer, I'll probably do some like purple washes, maybe a couple ultramarine blue washes, followed by some yellowing highlights. And then I'll start getting into more blushing and contouring, you know? And then that blends into all of the creases and wrinkles, and that's when it's like, wow, they really start to look real. And that's when you're like, holy shit, I am actually making progress. Because, like, I'm an artist that paints in so many fucking layers. Like, I don't do thick layers, everything's thin layers, you know? And sometimes I feel like I'm not making any progress at all. And then finally, when you realize, okay, I've done 110 layers and I finally see like I'm making progress. It's rewarding. I feel very rewarded at that moment when I see that finally. It's like, yeah, you're starting to look real. I don't suck at painting. Sometimes like before you start to see your work come through, I'm looking at a doll and it's like, why do I even do this? Like I suck at painting. I critique my own work like so bad. It's I'm just going to see that's where I'm like, oh, I love doing like putting these together. Oh. I love Laura Eagle sculpts. She is one of my favorite sculptors, and her kits are always just so newborn and wrinkly. I love it. I love newborn babies and wrinkly little newborns. So just gonna get more paint ready for the limbs. On the limbs, just like with like the nipple area and the lips, I will use a little bit of this color here. These two colors kind of mixed right here, right? Only, only for I will take a very, very fine liner brush. I'll take this paint and kind of dry brush little arcs to create the half moons with the vinyl. I don't know if you guys can see that. When you look at your fingers, you have the little moon, and then there's that purple red highlight over the moon, and then your nail color is just kind of flesh colored. This isn't dirt, this is paint in my fingernails. Like, and then it's tipped with more of a fine flesh color, right? And then you have this same color that highlights the actual nail bed and the moon and the tip of the nail. So I like to take this color and then use it to create little arcs to form that moon. I use the vinyl itself for the moon and the actual nail bed color. That's awesome. So I will add that to all of the fingers and toes. And then I will add another layer to highlight the nail tip with that same color when I get to the nail tips, which I do the nail tips during my skin texturing because I take the same skin texturing mix and then I add a bit more flesh 08 to it to actually do the nail tips. But I find this just works really great when you take this after it's evaporated a little bit. That's why I do it in this step because this paint it's dehydrated at this point. A lot of the thinners have flashed off. And then you can just kind of dry brush it. And I think that it just gives a really good effect. And it's more, I just like to do it this way. I think it looks even more realistic than using the pan pastel powders. And since this is a human baby and not a vampire baby, this one's going to have super realistic human newborn nail beds, and I'm not going to sculpt any sharp things. I am going to be doing a nail extension on it. My baby River was born with long, sharp fingernails, and in his photographs that I posted online, all my friends joked and was like, "Oh, you gave birth to a vampire." Because, like, aside from making dolls and stuff, I'm a professional vampire actor at the vampire ball, and um, everybody on my social media, a lot of them are my vampire ball friends. And they're like, "Wow, he really is a little vampire." I saw his fingernails. And I like to add that to freshly born, just born babies. Now I'm going over it again, but this time I'm leaving a dark line across the top of the little arcs that I just created. And this adds serious realism to a just born baby because that purple area, which is a very small area of the fingernail, is a bit more dark in just born babies because in the womb, their hands and feet are the last parts of the body to actually oxygenate, and that very much shows when they're first born. Some of them, their whole fingernail itself is freaking purple with like a very, very thin nail tip. So I'll do that same thing on all of the fingernails. And then I'll let that sit for a minute, and then I'll go back and do the creases and wrinkles on the hands and feet. Well, the limbs in general. I'm thinking that when I do the raised nails, remind me of Toy Story. I seriously have to have a baby doll from you? You do. Hoping to have a full-on doll museum and not have one of my dolls too. I'm just kidding, but not really. When I first started making dolls, this was the step that I always procrastinated. And now, I don't know, I actually really like it. It's like relaxing. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush because oftentimes the toenails on Reborn sculpts tend to be significantly smaller in size than um, their fingernails, which to me sometimes can be quite frustrating because um, newborn babies do tend to have like larger feet than this. You know, some I'm sure have small feet, but I have given birth to several children, and newborns tend to have big feet and have their toenails are much bigger than this, but you have to work with what you got, right? Sometimes the toenails are so small that I have to do this step with a sewing needle. But if you guys hear that talking, I live in a villa and I live right in front of the pool area. And there's a pool party going on right now. It was somebody's birthday and they were singing happy birthday to them, and I don't mind being right by the pool and hearing all the chaos. Our community that we live in is really great. Our neighbors are really, really awesome. Like one time I was walking my dog and one of my neighbors was throwing out, actively throwing away, about to put into the dumpster this massive, gorgeous desk. And I was like, "You're throwing that away?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Can I have that?" There was nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll help you carry it to your house." So now I have this big, beautiful desk to work on my dolls on. When I moved out of my old place, I did have a desk there, but like I actually hated it. It was like a it was a gift from my former mom-in-law, and it was appreciated. But when I was having River in the hospital, she came over to our house. River's dad is Filipino. His mom's from the Philippines, and part of their culture is that when the daughter-in-law is having a baby, the son's mom goes and cleans the house, cooks a ton of food, stocks the refrigerator, and all of that stuff. So when I came home from the birthing center, the house was clean. She bought me a desk that she set up for me to paint my dolls on, and she bought us a new bed and like all this other stuff. And it was great because I had a desk to work on. But that it was like really, really bulky. And I actually couldn't really I didn't have a whole lot of space for me to actually work on dolls with because it was like a armoire style type of like computer desk. And when I left, that's something that I left behind. And then they gave my neighbor gave me this desk, and I was like, hell yeah, what? What time is it here? Oh my goodness, it's going on. It's almost 10 o'clock. So I am going to, unfortunately, I am going to get going because it's almost 10 o'clock and my son is still out with his dad, which means, because they went to Chuck E. Cheese and stuff, and they are going to be coming through the door any moment. And so I'm going to log off, finish up the creases and wrinkles on the limbs, and put this baby in for a bake. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. For those of you guys that did, if you're new to me, my name is Heather. I'm a doll artist. I make reborns. I do makeup. I'm in a band. My band is called Brutale, and we are a dark synthwave band. And I'm a professional vampire actor. Um, and like I like doll houses and Chucky and stuff. So if you like dolls, give me a follow. But I'm gonna log off for now because it's getting late. My kid's about to come running through the door at any moment. And I will try to be live again soon, maybe next Friday. Have a good rest of the night. This was fun. Oh, you too, girl. Thanks for joining in and hanging out with me. I hope I didn't bore you guys to death. I try not to be boring when I'm painting. I try to chit chat and talk and engage and like at the same time show everybody what I'm doing. So I'm trying to get more experience teaching this stuff live because I'm going to be teaching in person soon, and I'll get more into that when the details of that start coming out. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. I'm going to try to go live more often. Maybe I don't know if I could do it every Friday. We will see. It really depends. You know, the only support system I really have is River's dad, and that's still very small. So, but yeah, I would love to go live again soon and maybe show how I do the nail extensions on this baby. And if I can't do it live, I can record it and do a voiceover. So, anyways, thank you. I love you guys. Bye. Have a great night.